The galaxy voted to erase Earth. And the cruelest part was not the decision, it was the silence around it. 31 worlds sat below me inside the grand chamber of Asterion's spire. Every delegate carried the colors of their civilization. Every banner, crest, and signal light spoke of history older than human nations. Yet not one of them looked toward the glass booth where I stood alone. To them, humanity had already been removed from the story. My name is Elias Rowe, former envoy of Earth. On that day, I became the only human witness to a vote meant to cut 8 billion people away from the stars. The chamber had been designed to feel fair. Smooth silver walls, gentle lights, a ceiling filled with slow-moving star maps. Even the air was filtered to calm anger and soften fear. But the lights around the room glowed blue. Blue meant satisfaction. The central machine read the result in 7 languages. I understood only 2, but numbers never need translation. 28 in favor, 3 against. Resolution Black Halo had passed. Earth would lose access to Union trade routes, message relays, shared jump gates, and legal protection. The official phrase was temporary safety separation. That was how powerful civilizations said exile without tasting the word. They claimed humanity was unstable, too emotional, too aggressive, too quick to question laws older species had obeyed for thousands of years. But I knew what truly unsettled them. Humanity was learning too fast. Below me, Ambassador Leora Vale stood on the chamber floor. She did not lower her head. She simply held her place, hands folded, face steady in a way that looked almost painful. The 3 opposing votes were recorded without ceremony. One came from the Sirach, a quiet species that rarely explained its choices. The second came from the Orathi, who had traded with humans and knew we were not monsters. The third belonged to a delegate I had never seen before. The record called her species the Thalren, ancient, ocean-born, rarely present, mostly silent. When the result appeared, she stood for 1 second, just long enough for me to see her face. She did not look surprised. She looked disappointed, as if the Union had repeated an error she had spent a lifetime expecting. Then she left through a side door that was not shown on any public map. I noticed that. Noticing small things was how I had survived diplomacy. The exile would begin in 72 hours. That was not mercy. The Union needed 3 days to close every gate connected to Earth space. 3 human colonies would be trapped outside. Haven 9, the Red Belt mining stations, and Vera's Rest, a small science moon most Union officials could not find without assistance. Almost 400,000 humans. After the chamber emptied, Earth's flag still hung on the outer display. No one had filed the removal order yet. A tall rune administrator entered. "The gallery is closed," he said. I stayed where I was. "You have no authority here." I looked at him. "No," I said, "we have no seat here. That is not the same thing." He left before I did. A few minutes later, Leora met me in the corridor. "Earth wants a report." "They can wait 1 hour." Her eyes narrowed. "Where are you going?" "To find the woman who voted no and disappeared. We only have 71 hours. Then I should walk faster." Through the window, the stars looked silent and far away. The Union believed the vote was the ending. I was beginning to think it was their first mistake. And when I found the Thalren delegate, she revealed the secret the Union had buried for 4,000 years.
I found the Thalren delegate in the lower ring of Asterion's spire. Humans were not invited there often. The air was warm, wet, and heavy with mist. Water moved through narrow channels beside the walkway, glowing with pale green light. The walls did not feel built. They felt grown, shaped by pressure, time, and memory. Her name was almost impossible for a human mouth to form. The closest sound was Mireille, so that was what I called her when her door opened before I touched it. "Elias Rowe," she said. Her voice was soft, but it carried weight, like a message rising from deep water. "You knew I was coming?" she replied. "You are the one who watches doors." I stepped inside. Her chamber was quiet. No bright screens, no loud machines, only a shallow pool in the center and shelves filled with rolled documents made from shining material. "You voted against Earth's exile," I said. "Yes. Why?" Mireille lowered herself beside the pool. Her dark blue skin shifted under the light like moonlit water. "We did not vote to save Earth," she said. "We voted to stop an old mistake from becoming permanent." "What mistake?" "The Union believes Resolution Black Halo can remove your world forever. It cannot." For the first time since the vote, something inside me shifted. Not hope, not yet, but the possibility of it. "What do you mean?" "The Union Charter has a forgotten clause. A permanent exile requires every founding line to agree. 3 votes against it means the order can operate, but it cannot become final." I stared at her. "So Earth has a legal opening." "A narrow one," she said. "The Union's legal counsel may not notice quickly. They trust power more than memory." "How much time?" "Maybe 13 months, maybe less if someone forces the issue." I almost laughed. 3 days ago, humanity had a seat. Now we had a forgotten paragraph. Mireille watched me carefully. "You are not meant to defeat the Union today. You are meant to endure long enough for the truth to matter." My wrist device vibrated. A gate report appeared. A human colony transport had tried to rush through before lockdown. First transit successful. Second transit failed. Third transit failed. The words were clean, cold, and official. 2 ships gone. For a moment the room seemed to lose air. Mireille did not ask what I had read. Maybe ancient species understood that fresh grief should not be touched too quickly. I turned the screen off. "Almost 400,000 humans will be stranded," I said. Mireille nodded. "There are routes the Union does not control." I looked up. "What routes?" "Old paths between stars, Thaurin paths, Serac paths, traitor paths. The Union dismisses them because they are absent from official maps." "You can show them to me?" "I can show you where to begin." She gave me a small black crystal. Faint lines moved inside it like trapped lightning. "This is not a map, it is a question. Give it to a navigator clever enough to answer." I closed my hand around it. "How long do I have?" 36 hours. After that, this conversation never happened." I left with wet sleeves, a heavy heart, and the first piece of a road no one was supposed to remember. Outside the misted corridor, the stars no longer looked unreachable. They looked hidden. But when I brought the crystal to my ship, my navigator found something inside it that was not a route. It was a warning.
Our ship was called the Meridian. It was no warship, no symbol of power, no shining vessel from recruitment posters. It was an old diplomatic support craft with tired engines, narrow corridors, and a command chair that made an offended sound every time someone sat in it. But it was ours. And right now, ours was enough. My navigator, Jalen Cross, was already on the bridge. He had the calm face of a man who had survived too many bad orders and learned to panic only after the work was done. I placed the black crystal on his console. He looked at it, then at me. "This is not Union technology." "No." "Where did you get it?" "From the Thaurin delegate." "That sounds illegal." "It probably is." He placed the crystal inside the scanner ring. The screen flickered.
Lines of light broke apart, returned, and formed strange paths across the display. Mira Chen, our communications officer, stopped typing. After 3 minutes, Jalen leaned closer. "That is old." "Old good or old bad?" "Old enough to be both." The screen filled with star routes, but they were unlike anything in Union navigation. They bent around official space, passing through abandoned systems, forgotten trade points, and dark regions most maps labeled empty. Then a red symbol appeared. Jalen's face changed. "What is it?" I asked. "A warning." "About the route?" "No," he said. "About us." Mira came to stand beside him. "Translate it." Jalen worked through broken language patterns until the symbols formed rough standard words. "Species under forced isolation may harden beyond recall. Contact requires purpose. Mercy requires caution. Trust requires proof." Nobody spoke. The Falren had not simply given us a road, they had given us a test. Mira folded her arms. "The Union fears what humans are. This warning fears what humans could become." That was worse, because it sounded honest. I studied the map. The route touched 3 independent hubs before curving toward the stranded colonies. It did not reach Earth directly, but it reached close enough to build from. "How long to prepare a jump?" I asked. Jalen exhaled. 16 hours if we do it safely. And if we do it our way? 8, but the ship will hate us. The ship can complain later. Mira almost smiled. Then the main alert sounded. A Union security ping rolled across the bridge. They had flagged the Meridian for inspection. Leora's voice came through the private channel. "Elias, whatever you are doing, hurry. The Union has started freezing human ship credentials." Jalen looked at me. Mira looked at the crystal. I looked at the dark gate outside the window. 70 hours remained before Earth was cut away completely. Our ship might be locked down in less than 1. I opened the ship-wide channel. "All crew, prepare for silent departure. No speeches, no panic. We leave before they remember we are still here." The Meridian's old engines woke beneath my feet. Fear turned into motion. But as we slipped away from Asterion Spire, one Union patrol ship turned with us, and it already knew where we were going. The Meridian left Asterion Spire without permission. No lights, no ceremony, no farewell. Jalen kept us below the station's traffic grid, moving between cargo shadows and service lanes. The engines stayed low, almost breathing instead of burning. Behind us, Asterion Spire shone like a palace that had not noticed one prisoner slipping through the wall. For 12 minutes, I thought we had escaped cleanly. Then Mira spoke. "Patrol ship behind us." Jalen did not look up. "Distance?" 4,000 kilometers and closing." "Identification?" Mira checked a signal. "Union Sentinel class. Name Varkos Line." Everyone knew that ship. The Varkos Line was not designed for conquest. It was built for compliance. Fast engines, heavy scanners, enough weapons to remind civilian craft that defiance had a price. A voice entered the open channel. "Human Meridian, reduce speed and prepare for inspection." No anger, no threat. That made it worse. They sounded certain we would obey. Jalen glanced back. "If we run, they mark us hostile. If we stop, they take the crystal." Mira looked at the Thaurin object glowing beside the console. "And the colony stay trapped." The channel opened again. "Meridian, your route suggests movement toward restricted outer lanes. Return to dock immediately." That changed the air on the bridge. They knew enough. I stepped closer to the command display. "Jalen, can we reach the dark corridor before they catch us?" "Not while they are scanning." "Can Mira blind them?" Mira answered first. "For a few seconds, not forever." "A few seconds is a door." She nodded and sat back down. Her hands moved quickly. She opened old communication bands, emergency bands, weather bands, dead civilian bands, and filled them with harmless noise. No attack, no damage, only confusion. The patrol ship's scanner line flickered. Jalen saw it. Now! The meridian dropped hard. The deck pulled beneath my feet. Stars stretched across the front glass. The old ship groaned as if it had been insulted awake. Behind us, the Varkos line turned too late. A warning blast flashed past our left side, bright enough to turn the bridge white. "They fired near us," Mira said. "Near is not on us," Jalen replied. He pushed the engines further. The Thalrin route opened ahead like a bruise in space. No gate, no shining frame, no safe Union structure. Just darkness folded into a shape my eyes did not want to understand. Every sensible part of me wanted to stop. Then I thought of Haven 9, of Red Belt, of Vera's Rest, of the 2 ships already gone. "Take us through," I said. The meridian entered the dark corridor. The stars vanished, and in the silence beyond Union space, something old answered our engines. What waited inside the dark corridor was not empty space. It was a graveyard of ships that had tried to escape the Union before us. The dark corridor did not feel like space. Space had distance, stars, direction. This place felt folded. The meridian floated through blackness so deep that even our instruments seemed unsure what to call it. The navigation screen kept drawing lines, deleting them, and drawing them again. Jalen's hand stayed over the controls. "I do not like this." "Professional opinion?" "Very professional." Before I could answer, the front glass cleared for a moment. Shapes appeared in the dark. Ships, dozens of them, then hundreds. Broken hulls drifted around us in silence. Some were merchant vessels. Some were old military frames. Others belonged to species I could not name. Their lights were dead. Their engines were cold. They moved slowly, like bones in a black sea. Mira whispered, "This is a graveyard." The Thalrin crystal pulsed once. A thin line of symbols appeared on the screen. Jalen translated them slowly. "Those who ran without listening did not return." The message was simple. This route had killed people before, maybe many, and still it was the only path we had. A metallic sound struck the lower hull, then another. Mira checked the sensors. "Debris field, small pieces, high speed." "Can we shield?" "Partly," Jalen said. "If we give too much power to shields, we lose engine balance." Another strike hit harder. The ship shook. Somewhere below, an alarm began to cry. I opened the engineering channel. "Report." Chief Engineer Tomas Vale answered, voice tight but steady. "Minor hull scoring, nothing open yet, but the corridor is pulling us in more than one direction." "Can we hold?" "For now. If the path bends again, I need less speed." Jalen looked at me. "If we slow down, the patrol may follow our entry trail. If we break apart, the patrol will not matter." He reduced speed. The meridian eased forward through the dead ships. That was when we saw the symbol. It was carved into the side of a ruined vessel twice our size. 3 lines crossing inside a circle. Mira searched the database. No union match. Jalen studied it. Not Thalrin either. The crystal pulsed again. This time, the message was clearer. First exile. First failure. A cold feeling moved through me. The Union had not invented exile for Earth. This had happened before. Someone had tried to escape through these hidden routes. They had failed. Maybe that was why the Thalrin and Serac voted against us. Not because they trusted humanity, because they remembered what silence cost. Mira's voice broke the stillness. Incoming signal. From where? She looked confused. One of the dead ships. A broken vessel ahead flickered with weak blue light. It should not have had power, but it was calling us. The message came through in rough standard. Human vessel, do not follow the bright path. Jalen looked ahead. One route had begun to glow softly in the dark. Beautiful, easy, wrong. I leaned closer. Then where do we go? The old signal answered with 3 final words. Follow the silence. And when we chose the silent path, we found the first living witness of the Union's oldest crime. Jalen turned the meridian away from the glowing path. Every warning light objected. The scanners marked the bright route is stable. The navigation system called it safe. Even the Thalrin crystal flashed once, as if uncertain. But the dead ship had said, follow the silence. So we did. The silent path was not marked on any screen. It was only a dark gap between 2 fields of wreckage, so narrow the meridian had to move like a careful hand through broken glass. No one spoke. Even the engines seemed quieter. Then the graveyard ended. The blackness opened into a hidden spocket of space. There were no stars, but there was light. Soft white light coming from a station buried in the shadow of a dead moon. It was old, older than the Union. Its outer rings were cracked but still turning. Long strips of metal hung from it like torn cloth. Hundreds of small signal buoys floated around it, each blinking in a different rhythm. Mira leaned forward. That station is broadcasting. To who? To anyone who survived. A docking signal reached us. Manual. Someone was alive inside. Jalen looked at me. This could be a trap. Yes, I said, but it is the first trap that opened a door instead of firing at us. We docked carefully. I took Mira and 2 security officers with me. The airlock opened with a tired groan. Cold, thin air rolled over us. Inside, the walls were covered in markings. Names. Thousands of them. Some carved deep, some painted, some burned into metal. Mira touched one softly. Memorials. A voice answered from the corridor. Records. We turned. A figure stood under a broken light. He was tall but bent with age. His skin was pale gray, almost transparent, and his eyes were covered by a thin silver film. He wore no armor, no weapon, only a long dark coat patched many times. You are human, he said. Elias Rowe, Earth Envoy. Envoy? His mouth twisted. Then your world is still polite. That may not last. Who are you? I am Sale. I am the last speaker of Vorin. Mira went still. I knew the name. The Vorin were listed in Union history as extinct, a tragic collapse, internal war, resource failure, a warning against unstable young species. Sale watched my face and nodded. Yes, that is what they wrote. What really happened? His expression hardened. The Union exiled us, then waited for us to break. When we built our own routes, they called it rebellion. When we asked for witnesses, no one came. The words landed heavily. I thought of Earth, of the stranded colonies, of the lost ships. Sail stepped closer. You are not the first line they tried to erase, but you may be the first, still strong enough to draw back. Behind him, the station lights began to wake. Sail had kept the evidence hidden for centuries, and what he showed us next could turn Earth's exile into the Union's greatest shame.
Sail led us deeper into the station. The lights came on one by one, weak at first, then stronger, as if the station itself was waking from a long sleep. Names covered the walls around us. Some belonged to Voran ships, some to families, some were only numbers. I did not ask why. Every civilization has a way of counting its dead when there are too many names to speak at once. Sail stopped before a round metal door, sealed with 3 different locks. He placed his hand against the first and spoke in a language my translator could not understand. The locks opened. Inside was not an armory. It was an archive. Rows of black memory stones floated in soft light. Old data screens lined the walls. In the center stood a crystal table. Inside it, thousands of tiny images moved like trapped stars. "This is what they buried," Sail said. Mira stepped forward. "Evidence?" "Records, orders, votes, gate logs, private messages, everything removed from public history." My throat tightened. Why keep it hidden? Because truth is useless if it dies before reaching the right ears. He touched the table. The first image opened above it. An older version of the Grand Chamber appeared. Different flags, different lights, but the same cold order. A vote result flashed. Exile approved. Then another, and another. "How many?" I asked. Sail's voice was quiet. 9 species across 4,000 years. The Union had not used exile once. It had used it like a tool. Each record followed the same pattern. A young species entered too quickly, questioned too much, threatened trade systems, or refused old rules. The council called them unstable, dangerous, unready. Then the gates closed. Some collapsed, some disappeared, some became enemies, which allowed the old powers to claim the exile had been wise. Sail watched the images without blinking. My people were the 6th. We survived longer than expected. That made us inconvenient. Jalen's voice came through my earpiece from the ship. "Elias, movement near the corridor entrance. Could be the patrol ship." "How long?" "Maybe 30 minutes. Sail turned toward me. "You cannot fight them here." "I did not come here to fight." "Then take the archive." Mira stared at him. "All of it?" "No, the part that matters." He removed 1 black memory stone from the center table. It was small enough to fit in my palm. Sail closed my fingers around it. "Do not use it for revenge," he said. "Revenge burns fast. Records last longer." Then the station alarm sounded. Red light washed over the archive. Jalen's voice returned, sharper now. "Elias, the patrol found the entrance." Sail looked toward the door. "And this time they will not only chase you, they will erase this place." We had the proof, but escaping with it meant leaving Sail's hidden station to face the Union alone.
For 1 second, I looked at Sail and said nothing. The archive stone was in my hand. The alarm cried through the station.
The Union patrol was entering the hidden pocket behind us. Sael stood there like a man who had accepted being forgotten. "No," I said. His silver-covered eyes turned toward me. "No, we are not leaving you here. You do not have time for kindness. This is not kindness. Then what is it?" I closed my fist around the memory stone. "Proof means nothing if the last witness dies while we run away." Mira looked at me quickly. Fear was in her eyes, but so was agreement. Sael shook his head. "You carry the record. That is enough. It is not enough for humans." For the first time, anger touched his face. "That is why the Union fears you. You turn survival into emotion." "No," I said. "We turn emotion into survival." Jalen's voice broke through the calm. "The patrol is scanning the station." "How long before they lock weapons?" "They already are." Mira stepped closer to Sael. "Can this station move?" Sael almost laughed. "It is older than your written history." That was not the question. He looked toward the ceiling. "There are emergency engines, dead for centuries." "Tomas calmed wet dead engines," I said. Chief Engineer Tomas Vale answered from the Meridian. "I heard that, and I hate that you are right." We moved fast. Mira and I helped Sael through the memorial corridors, while Tomas sent repair drones into the station's lower systems. Jalen kept the Meridian docked, using our shields to cover part of the structure. Outside, the patrol sent its warning. "Unknown station, power down. Human vessel Meridian, surrender immediately." I opened a channel. "This is Elias Rowe of Earth. We are conducting a humanitarian recovery." "You have no recognized authority," the commander replied. I looked at the walls full of names. That seems to be a common Union opinion. Then I cut the channel. The first blast hit the station's outer ring. The corridor shook. Dust and old metal rained down. Sael stumbled, and I caught him. "You should have left," he whispered. "Probably. Your people are foolish." Frequently. Another blast struck. Then Tomas shouted through the comm. "The emergency engines are awake, but they are not happy. Can they move the station? For maybe 12 minutes before they tear themselves apart. That is 11 minutes more than we need." Jalen understood. "The station blocks the firing line, and the Meridian pulls it out with us. That's insane." "Is it possible?" A pause. "Barely." Barely was enough. The old station groaned as its dead engines came alive in blue-white fire. The memorial walls trembled. The names shook, but they did not fall. The station moved. Not gracefully, not safely, but it moved. The Meridian locked onto its frame and pulled. For a few terrible seconds, we were one wounded thing dragging another through the dark. Behind us, the patrol ship turned to follow. Then the graveyard shifted. Dead ships drifted between us and the Union vessel, as if the forgotten past had finally chosen a side. Jalen pushed the engines. The Meridian screamed. The station burned, and together we escaped. When the stars returned, Sael looked through the glass at open space and began to cry without sound. But the archive stone carried more than evidence. It named the species that quietly helped erase every exile before Earth.
The Meridian did not celebrate after the escape. There was no cheering on the bridge, no brave speeches, only alarms, tired breathing, and damaged systems fighting to stay alive. The old Voron station floated behind us, tied to our ship by emergency tow beams. Its outer ring was burned black where the patrol had struck it. But it had survived. Sael sat in the corner of the bridge, wrapped in a thermal blanket, staring at the stars as if they did not trust them to remain. Mira placed the archive stone into the secure reader. "She can open it, but we need to know what we are looking for." "Everything." "Everything will take weeks." "We do not have weeks." Jalen turned from the navigation display. The patrol will report us. The Union will lock every known approach. Then we use what they do not know. Sael looked at me. You still think like someone running. What should I think like? Someone building a record. That silenced me. Mira activated the archive. Light rose from the stone and spread across the bridge. Names appeared first, then dates, then votes, then private seals from officials long dead. The first files showed the Vorin exile, then the others. 9 civilizations, each removed from the Union's path, each called dangerous, each blamed for its own collapse. Then Mira froze. That cannot be right. What? She enlarged one section. A list of hidden witnesses appeared, species that had not led the exiles, but had helped clean the records afterwards. Some names meant nothing to me. Some were extinct. Then one name appeared that made the bridge feel colder. Orathi. Jalen looked up slowly. The Orathi voted against Earth's exile. Yes, Mira whispered, but their ancestors helped erase the Vorin. Sael's face became stone. They were young then, afraid of losing trade protection. They gave access to independent message routes. Without those routes, my people could not warn others. I remembered the Orathi delegate in the chamber. Their vote had seemed brave. Now it felt complicated. Maybe they changed, Mira said. Maybe, Sael replied. Or maybe guilt finally learned to speak. Another file opened. This one was newer. Mira's voice sharpened. Elias, this was created 6 months ago. The file showed Earth's networks, colonies, supply lines, and weak points. Someone had prepared a full isolation model before Resolution Black Halo was even announced. At the bottom was a hidden authorization mark, not from the public council, from a private group inside it, the Helix Directorate. Jalen frowned. I have never heard of them. Sael closed his eyes. I have. He stood slowly, as if the name itself had dragged him back through centuries. They are not a government. They are the hand behind quiet votes. They choose which young species become useful and which become threats. Mira checked another file. There's a meeting scheduled. When? 30 hours from now. Private session. Hub 7. I looked at the damaged ship, the rescued station, and the last witness of an erased people. We had proof, but proof hidden in our hands would not save Earth. It had to reach the right eyes before the Helix Directorate buried us too. And at Hub 7, the person waiting for us was not an enemy. It was the Arathi delegate who had betrayed one civilization and was now begging to save another.
Hub 7 did not look like a place where history changed. It was small, old, and ugly. Its outer shell was covered in repair plates from different centuries. Half its lights were dim. The docking ring turned with a tired sound that came through the Meridian's hull like a warning. But Hub 7 had one thing the old powers hated. It was independent. No Union flag, no Union law, no Union gate authority. That was why the Helix Directorate used it. That was also why we came. Jalen docked the Meridian behind a fuel carrier, keeping our damaged side away from public view. The Vorin station remained hidden in the shadow of a storage moon nearby. Sael refused to stay behind, even though his body was weak after the escape. Old witnesses are difficult to store safely, he said. Mira gave him a dry look. That is not a medical argument. It is a historical one. We met the Arathi delegate in a closed market chamber below the main trade floor. Her name was Vesa Tor. In the grand chamber, she seemed graceful and distant.
Here, without formal robes, she looked exhausted. Her 4 narrow hands were folded tightly, and her silver eyes moved first to me, then to Sael. When she saw him, she stopped breathing. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Sael said, "So your people do remember us." Vesa lowered her head. Yes, the word was small, but it carried generations. I placed the archive stone on the table. "You voted against Earth's exile. Why?" Her hands tightened. "Because my people helped destroy the Vorin, not with weapons, with silence, with access codes, with trade routes, with excuses." Sael's face did not soften. "And now guilt makes you brave?" "No," Vesa said. "Fear does." That answer surprised me. She looked directly at me. "The Helix Directorate does not only want Earth isolated, they want humanity forced into desperation. If Earth breaks, they will call the vote justified. If Earth fights, they will say you proved them right. Either way, they win." Mira leaned forward. "Then why meet us?" Vesa opened a small data chip and pushed it across the table. "Because Earth was not chosen by accident." The chip showed a list of human discoveries from the last 10 years: new drive theory, deep-range communication, independent colony manufacturing, civilian navigation outside Union systems. Jalen read the list and went still. "They were watching our progress." "They were afraid of it," Vesa said. "Humanity was close to building gate-free travel. Not perfect, not safe yet, but close. The Union can control a species that needs gates. It cannot control one that builds its own doors." That was the real reason. Not our anger, not our wars, our future. Sael touched the archive stone. "Then the record is not enough. They will bury it." Vesa nodded. "Unless it is released during the Directorate's private session. Every delegate attending will be linked through secure channels. If the archive enters that stream, they cannot erase all copies." Mira stared at her. "That would expose you, too." "Yes." "Then why do it?" Vesa looked at Sael, then at me. "Because one civilization was erased while my ancestors looked away. I will not let another vanish while I still have hands." Outside the chamber, heavy footsteps entered the market hall. Jalen touched his earpiece. Union security just arrived. Vesa closed her eyes. "They followed me." I picked up the archive stone. "No," I said, "they followed the guilt." But before we could reach the Directorate's private session, Vesa revealed the worst truth yet. One human leader had secretly helped them plan Earth's exile.
Vesa's words hit harder than the footsteps outside. One human leader had helped plan Earth's exile. For a moment, I could not move. Mira stared at her as if she had spoken in a dead language. Jalen's hand froze near his sidearm. Sael's face went still, old pain finding a new wound. I stepped closer. "Say that again?" Vesa did not look away. "The Helix Directorate had human help." "No," Mira said sharply. "That is impossible." Vesa opened another file on the table. A human name appeared in the light. Adrian Kell, former advisor to Earth's Outer Relations Council. I knew him. Everyone in diplomatic service knew him. Calm voice, perfect suits, always speaking about peace, order, and responsibility. He had argued for closer Union cooperation for years. My stomach turned. He gave them colony weakness reports, supply limits, gate dependence, political pressure points. He told them Earth would bend if the colonies were trapped. Jalen's voice was low. "Why would he do that?" "Because he believed humanity needed control," Vesa answered. "He thought fear would force Earth to accept a safer future under Union supervision." Mira's anger broke through. We sold us and called it protection. Outside, the footsteps grew closer. Security was almost at the chamber door. I looked at Kell's signature beneath the planning documents. For 1 second, I wanted revenge. Not justice. Revenge. I wanted him named, ruined, dragged before every screen on Earth. Then Sael spoke. "Careful, human." I turned to him. The directorate wants anger. Anger is easy to dismiss. Records are harder. His words hurt because they were true. I forced myself to breathe. "Can we prove the documents are real?" Vesa nodded. "Yes, the security marks are live-linked. If we release them during the directorate session, every attending delegate will see the source chain." Mira grabbed the archive stone and data chip. "I can merge the files, but I need a direct access point." Vesa pointed upward. "There's an old relay room above the trade floor. It connects to the private session stream." "How many guards?" Jalen asked. "Too many." The chamber door shook. A voice outside called, "Open under Union Security Authority." Hub 7 was independent, but power always tried to speak like law. Jalen looked at me. "Plan?" I looked at Sael, weak but standing. Vesa, terrified but ready. Mira holding the proof like it was a living heart. Then I thought of Earth, not as a flag, as people, families waiting for news, colonists counting air and food, 2 lost ships whose names deserved more than silence. "We do not fight them," I said. "We make them chase the wrong thing." Mira understood first. "I can send a fake archive signal through the lower market." "And the real one?" Jalen asked. I picked up the archive stone. "We take it upstairs." The door burst open behind us. Security rushed in, but we were already moving. Through a side passage, up a narrow service ladder, past steam pipes and old cables, we climbed toward the relay room while alarms spread through Hub 7. For the first time, I was not only running from exile, I was carrying the truth that could end it. And when we opened the relay stream, Earth heard the betrayal live, but so did the entire Stellar Union. The relay room was smaller than I expected. Old machines lined the walls. Dust covered the panels. Half the lights were dead. It did not look like a room that could shake an empire. But history often begins in ugly places. Mira dropped to the main console and connected the archive stone. Vesa stood beside her, entering access codes with shaking hands. Sael leaned against the wall, breathing hard, but his eyes stayed open. Below us, security was climbing. Jalen sealed the door. "That will not hold long." "It only has to hold long enough," Mira replied. The screen flashed. "Private Directorate stream found. 31 delegate channels connected. Earth emergency broadcast reachable." Mira looked back at me. "Once I send this, we cannot take it back." I thought of Adrian Kell, the Helix Directorate, the Vorin, the other erased species, the histories rewritten by powerful hands. Then I thought of Earth, waiting, afraid, angry, still alive. "Send it," I said. Mira pressed the key. The room filled with light. Across the Stellar Union, private screens opened without permission. Across Earth, emergency channels broke into normal broadcasts. On Haven 9, the Red Belt stations, and Vera's Rest, colonists saw the same files appear. The first Exile, the Vorin records, the hidden votes, the changed histories. Then Earth's isolation plan. Then Adrian Kell's name. For several seconds, no one spoke. Not in the relay room, not on the Union channel, not even from the team breaking through the lower doors. Silence can be fear. Sometimes it is the moment before truth finds its voice. The first voice came from Earth. The Secretary General appeared on the emergency channel, pale but steady. "These records have been received. Earth recognizes the evidence. Earth rejects the exile. Earth calls for immediate protection of all stranded civilians and a full public inquiry." Then Haven 9 responded. Carol Dane, the colony director, appeared from a crowded control room. "We are still here,"
she said. "We did not break." More colony signals followed, the Red Belt miners, the scientists from Vera's Rest, independent traders. Then the Orathi public channel opened. Vesa stepped closer to the camera. "My ancestors helped erase the Vorin. I will not hide that shame. Today, I stand as witness." Sail moved beside her. When the delegates saw him, the channel exploded with voices. A dead species was not dead. A buried crime had learned to speak. The relay room door finally broke open. Security entered, but they did not fire. Their commander looked at the screens, then at Sail, then at Vesa. For the first time, they seemed unsure whose orders still mattered. Hours later, Resolution Black Halo was suspended. Not erased, not excused, suspended. The Helix Directorate was exposed. Adrian Kell was arrested by Earth authorities. The Union opened its archives under pressure from its own worlds. The gate to Earth reopened under a new agreement, but humanity did not return as a begging child. We returned as a people who had survived the closing door. Weeks later, I stood at the observation window of the Meridian. The stars were bright. The gate was open. Sail's station had become a protected archive. Vesa remained under investigation, but she did not run. Mira joined me quietly. "Was it a victory?" she asked. I looked at the stars. "No," I said. "It was a beginning." Earth had been judged, cut off, and expected to crawl back. Instead, humanity found forgotten paths, carried buried truth, and drew a line across the stars. Not with rage alone, not with fear alone, together. And this time, the line held. They tried to exile Earth to make humanity disappear, but they only taught us how to become impossible to erase. May this message strengthen your faith and renew your hope. Thank you for staying until the end. If this touched your heart, like, share, and subscribe to Astro Realms for more uplifting content. May God's blessings overflow in your life. See you soon.